You gonna pay for that?
Huh?
You gonna pay for that?
Yeah.
When?
Huh?
Sometimes they're as sweet as kids, and sometimes they're a bit uptight, but elderly folks are true gems of society.
Is that enough? I think that's enough chilies there.
They're so hot.
They're hot, yeah.
But what happens when they go rogue?
Step back. Stop it.
Seriously?
Buckle up. We're about to dive into some wild moments where our seasoned citizens took a turn toward the dark side with some daring robberies.
Let go
Please unhand me. You're hurting me.
Bicycle thief. A beautiful day, an RC planes, perfect combo for some outdoor fun. But this guy, busy with his RC planes, notices someone trying to steal his bicycle. He starts sprinting after the thief, and it might seem like he's lightning fast, but let's be real, the bike thief was just really slow. I mean, when you've been around for a while, your knees aren't exactly built for high-speed chases. The guy gets his bike back, and let's just say, Grandpa Thief isn't too thrilled. But hey, he's been around long enough to know when to just keep his mouth shut and walk away. Public justice. After snatching a purse from a woman in the London Underground, instead of making a quick getaway, the thief finds himself facing some serious public justice. An Asian family, not fluent in English, keeps asking for the police, and their rhythm sounds like a siren itself. The guy tries to escape, but the crowd detains him until the police arrive. Honestly, these folks were pretty kind to the purse thief. Anywhere else, he might have needed a hospital visit before heading to the police station. Beach Karens. Two elderly women are struggling to disassemble a beach canopy when a man shows up with a camera rolling. For a moment, they think a kind soul is here to help the elderly.
You need some help?
Do you know how to do it?
Yeah.
But then he reveals he's the owner of the canopy and all the other stuff they had their eyes on.
This is all ours.
All of it. The chairs, the bag, this is all our stuff.
Cue the Oscar-worthy performance as they act shocked, like they've been scammed or something. But when they realize the guy isn't buying their act, they shift from sweet grandmas to full-on raging Karens. The one with the shades? She's not thrilled about their failed heist being caught on camera, so much so that she starts attacking the guy. Well, I guess it's a little late for them to learn that apologizing might have been the better move when caught stealing. Newspaper. Strolling down the street, this elderly guy spots a newspaper on someone's porch and makes a run for it. Maybe he's craving that fresh ink smell or a new crossword puzzle. But just as he's making his getaway, red and blue lights flash around the corner. The conveniently placed cop was sitting there like it was a sting operation to catch the most notorious newspaper thief ever. The guy drops the paper like it's hot, keeps walking casually, and even crosses paths with the police cruiser. Did this old guy think the cops wouldn't stop for a chat after his little dash to the door? Chile Pirate. Meet the granny who decided that to spice up her food, she doesn't need to buy chilies. She can just steal them from someone's front yard. But to her dismay, the homeowner confronts her and snatches back all the spicy loot. But she's not done yet. Granny returns with a furry accomplice, and this time she makes a successful getaway. The end? Nope. She comes back for a third visit, but this time her loot is cut short when the owner, through a doorbell camera, tells her to leave the chilies alone.
We've caught you again. Go away.
Finally, on her fourth visit, she decides to do the right thing and politely asks if she can take some. Well, persistence does pay off, doesn't it? Thrift Store. Goodwill thrift stores do amazing work, but some people have no shame. Take this elderly woman caught shoplifting clothes. When the cop shows up, he's having none of her excuses. She tells him to unhand her and not to touch her or her stuff. Did she think being elderly would give her a free pass? Nope. The cops are determined to cuff her, and when she resists, she ends up taking a tour of the ground. That's what you get for stealing from a non-profit. Locked up. Dressed to impress and sporting a big hat to dodge security cameras, this lady waltzes into the store posing as an investigator for a high-end international buyer. The shop owner, falling for her act, takes her to the vault, where deals with important customers are made. They agree on a deal for 11 rings worth $6 million. She assures him the payment is on its way while packing the jewelry with her packaging material. But when she slips the goods into her briefcase, the owner gets suspicious. She tries to swap the real package for a fake one, but he's not fooled. He locks her in the vault. In a desperate attempt, she rips open the fake package and hides it under her skirt. But everything is caught on camera. Thanks to the quick-thinking shop owner, another thief is off the streets. Granny Save. A guy wearing a ski mask inside a superstore? Yeah, he's not planning to pay for that trolley full of items. When confronted, he casually keeps walking, but a feisty granny notices what's up and decides to take matters into her own hands. She blocks his path and yanks the mask off his face. Turns out, he's not much younger than the granny herself, so he can't put up much of a fight. He gives up on the cart, grabs his bags, and rides off, while the granny makes sure he hears some choice words about who he is. Looney Tunes. Walking alone at night on an empty street can be peaceful, but when a car full of crooks pulls up, it's downright scary unless you're this guy. As soon as the car stops, he turns and flees backward, forcing the bandits to reverse their car. When they catch up, he switches to running forward, making them shift gears and chase him again. It's like a scene straight out of Looney Tunes. He starts running backward again, and by this time, the crooks just give up. This might be the only foiled robbery where the would-be victim outran a car on foot. Religious lecture. Fresh out of jail, ID tag and bracelet still on, this woman decides to steal from a man's Jeep. But she's in for a surprise. The items she tried to swipe? Gospel tracts, and the owner, a devout Christian. He tells her he's not calling the cops, but starts giving her a religious lecture. Terrified of the sermon, she bolts, while he keeps yelling at her to return to God.
God's wrath abides upon you unless you repent from your sins.
Polite robber. This might just be the most polite robbery in history. An elderly man very respectfully asks the cashier for a favor, and when the cashier agrees, the man whips out a gun, apologizing as he asks for money. Yep, sorry about that. The cashier offers him $40, but the man insists he needs more to cover rent and bills. After collecting $300, he apologizes again and promises to pay it back once he's back on his feet. Spoiler alert, that promise didn't age well because the police nabbed him a few days later. Well, sir, I hate to break it to you, being polite doesn't make it legal. Not so slick. A gas station with a big store, perfect for grabbing essentials and snacks for the road. But this elderly man, he's here for more than just quenching his thirst. He walks in, spots cookies right in front of the entrance, and pockets one while casually pulling out his wallet much bigger than the cookie. So, carrying the cookie isn't the problem here. He then grabs 5 lemonades from the fridge and limps to the front counter, probably thinking he's just scored a free cookie. But this gas station has seen its fair share of crooks and cashiers. They've got their eyes glued to those security cameras. So when our elderly friend doesn't cough up that cookie, he gets called out. Of course, now he's going to claim he was just about to pay for it, like every shoplifter ever. But the cashier's not having it. And just like that, our elderly cookie bandit storms out, buying nothing. Scam victim. Elderly folks are often easy targets for scams, costing them thousands. So, when a 74-year-old woman got scammed from her life savings, she decided to rob a bank. She walks right up to a teller, shows a firearm, and demands money. After getting some, she moves on to another teller for more. But even with a mask on, it's not hard to identify someone her age, especially when there aren't many seniors pulling off heists. The police quickly catch up with her, so, while she was a scam victim herself, she managed to get herself arrested for the first time in her long life. Say cheese. Here's a shameless paramedic for you. Called to a house after a 94-year-old woman passed away, he decided to go through the deceased's stuff and find some cash to pocket. But then he notices the camera and very innocently puts the cash back, like, "Oh, I was just rearranging it." Some people, right? Probably teaches young kids to be better while going out and doing things like this. Detergent Thieves. In a bustling superstore where families are grabbing their daily groceries, a woman and her accomplice are casually pushing a cart loaded with over 20 bottles of detergent, worth more than $600. These crooks are determined not to leave a single bottle behind, even with a security guard and helpful customers trying to stop them. But in broad daylight, this woman has no fear. She backs her car right up to the store entrance, making it easier to load all that stolen detergent into the trunk. And just like that, the older woman and her young sidekick are gone, a trunk full of detergent. Seriously, how much laundry do they have piled up? Unusual weapon. Two wannabe carjackers on a moped pull up to a Jeep. The guy in the back pulls something out of his bag, trying to arm himself with, well, something that's not scaring anyone. Seriously, what even is that? He tries to poke with the stick, but the guy's completely unfazed. And just when the carjacker thinks he's about to charge, they bolt like scaredy cats. Turns out, they were trying to rob a famous Arsenal football player. Maybe they got nervous robbing a star, or just weren't cut out for the big leagues. Yard sale. Getting mugged by an elderly person on the street? Not likely, but having them swipe your stuff at a yard sale. Now, that's more probable. This guy spotted a cute, hand-carved nativity scene and went back to grab the rest of the pieces, only to find an old woman had already cleaned them out. When he confronts her about the missing pieces, she gets all defensive and even asks him to check her stuff. Sure enough, there were the missing pieces. But the guy, being a nice person, just let it go. Jet ski. A 48-year-old guy takes off with a jet ski that isn't his. The cops borrow a boat from a family at the dock and start looking for him. They find him stranded in the water with the stolen jet ski broken down. The police order him to swim over, but it turns out that after nearly 5 decades on Earth, this guy doesn't know how to swim. I mean, why would you steal something that floats on water when you can't swim to save your life? So, this arrest turned into a rescue mission, but he still ended up behind bars. Dog thief. A family had their German Shepherd tied outside, soaking up pets from passing pedestrians. But one lady in a blue jacket returns after the family leaves. With the dog now inside the house, she starts snooping around for a way in. Later, she's joined by a guy, and the two of them head to a neighboring apartment complex, trying to find the back door through the parking lot. The lady discovers it's unlocked, but doesn't strike yet. Instead, she comes back alone, slips in through a front window, and walks out with the dog and her young accomplice. But she messed with the wrong family. They start sharing her picture on Facebook, along with shots of their 9-year-old dog. Tips flood in, and days later, the family spots the woman with their dog, shaved to try and throw them off. The lady dares to argue it's her dog, but with her face all over security cameras and a vet confirming the dog's identity, her claims don't hold up for long. Liquor run. Our next stop is a supermarket in Russia, where a man walks in and browses the liquor bottles. Nothing suspicious, right? He's grabbing bottles like any other customer, but unlike everyone else, he doesn't plan on paying. He makes a run for the exit, but here's the catch. That little barrier that opened easily on his way in. Yeah, it doesn't open so easily on the way out. His speed sends him crashing down, bottles smashing everywhere, and he's left lying there in pure embarrassment, not quite ready to face reality. Invisible robber. Just another day as a cashier, and then a guy enters the store, whips out a gun, and points at the cashier's head. But for her, it's still business as usual. She keeps serving other customers like the guy doesn't even exist. He tries to get more aggressive, and for a moment, she gets up. But then, she's right back in her seat, continuing to ignore him. Enter her co-worker, channeling full mom energy. She shoves the guy like he's an unarmed kid, pushing him right out of the store. These ladies didn't just stop the robbery, they robbed his self-esteem. Shorts. Let's visit the gas station we did before, because it looks like elderly crooks have a soft spot for this place. Take this man in shorts. He'd been there before and shoved an item in his shorts. When the cashier confronted him, he returned it. But come on, nobody's touching it now. Just pay for it. The cashier tells him to never come back. Fast forward almost 2 years, and guess who's back in shorts with the same tactic? This time, he shoves an ice cream sandwich in his shorts while fiddling with the chip stand. The cashier knows he took 2, but paid for 1 ice cream sandwich and only checks if he left behind the chip stand to mess with him, but nope, nothing there. So he reviews the footage and sees the old man pulling the same trick. He finds the guy still in his car, reading the newspaper, but when confronted this time, he drives off with his chili loot. Pretty sure he won't be coming back again. Serial robber. After 40 years in prison for robbing 4 banks, you'd think Bruce Edward Bell would be done with the criminal life when he got out at 69. Nope. In January 2024, at the ripe age of 71, he struck again. He waltzed into a bank, grabbed an employee, pointed a gun, and made the security guard hide under a desk. He even ordered the female teller to fill his bag with cash. This old guy wasn't just familiar with bank technology, he knew how to use it. He fiddled with a computer, got the cash counting machine going, and stuffed 5 loads of money into his bag before leaving. He was caught later during a traffic stop, but come on, a 71-year-old still being able to hold up a bank and walk out with the loot, that is impressive. Obviously not in a good way. Protector. It's a typical boring workday at the office when someone knocks on the door. As soon as the employee opens up, a man tries to force his way in to ransack the place. But that's not happening, not on the dog's watch. The would-be robber should have turned tail the moment he saw the dog, but he didn't. So, when the owner lets the dog loose, it does what it's meant to do: protect the office and its owner. Talk about picking the wrong place to mess with. Saber Jewel. This clip is like a throwback to the 18th century when guns weren't as common and people settled scores with swords. When a robber tries to steal from this store, armed with a hockey stick, the owner pulls out a sword, turning the whole thing into a scene straight out of a Saber Jewel. Neither of them was as skilled as our ancestors probably were, but the shopkeeper managed to fend off the robber and defend his turf. Yard signs. Politicians tend to get under people's skin, and while supporting one is a personal choice, election season can make things a bit messy. Take this yard, for example, where signs keep getting stolen. I doubt the thieves were planning to reuse them, but who knows? So the guy gets creative and modifies the sign. When a woman tries to swipe it, she ends up tangled in wires and hits the ground. Maybe now folks will think twice before messing with someone's right to express their opinion. Take back. This guy, clearly not young enough to sprint, dashes a vulnerable package lying on a porch, but the owner senses something fishy and rushes to the door. The out-of-shape man comically runs back to his car, with the owner hot on his tail. He drops the package, but the owner isn't done yet. He lunges into the crook's car, and guess what? The porch pirate ends up losing his purse, which conveniently has his ID inside. Made it easy for the police to track him down. Cara. This 60-year-old caregiver had been looking after an even older woman for more than 6 years and had earned her absolute trust. However, the family noticed some money missing, so they secretly installed a CCTV camera without the caregiver knowing. After the usual light-hearted chat, when the client gets up and slowly leaves the room, the caregiver starts her sneaky business, digging into the client's purse and snatching £30, then stashing it in her bag. That hidden camera, it not only caught the thief red-handed, but also landed her a hefty fine, a staggering number of unpaid work hours, and a suspension from her firm. Forgetful. This clip will leave you puzzled. A cashier, having a boring day, is casually scrolling on his phone when a man brandishing a gun walks in and aims it right at his head. A robbery, right? The cashier, fearing for his life, instinctively goes to take out the money, but the guy just asked for cigarettes. Okay, so he had to smoke and didn't have enough money. Wait, what? Is he paying for them too? Was this guy too old and suffering from dementia, forgetting he was there to rob the store? Or did he think you could only buy cigarettes by intimidating people? Close call. A couple returning home had no clue someone else was eager to join them. But thanks to the wife's quick thinking and a sturdy door, the crook didn't stand a chance of making it inside. Sometimes, being quick does save the day. Chaotic bus ride. A super quiet bus ride with everyone minding their own business turns chaotic when a man with a firearm decides it's time to rob everyone on board. He starts collecting phones, unaware that one guy is following him, just waiting for the right moment. But before the good guy can make his move, the robber interrupts a man enjoying his music. Without missing a beat, the music lover charges at the thief, grabbing his arm. Soon, others join in to subdue the robber, while some passengers wisely make a run for it. 2 takeaways here. Robbing a bus solo is a terrible idea, and never mess with someone vibing to their tunes. Swords defense. Now, we've got robbers who seem allergic to using the front door. They start by smashing windows, which of course alerts the store owners. By the time they break the window enough to squeeze through, the shop owners, armed with swords no less, are ready to defend their turf. Sure, one shopkeeper slips, but these terrified robbers weren't expecting any resistance. Even with a gun, they couldn't manage to get inside properly. Maybe if they'd used the front entrance, their heist might have had a shot. Kudos to these shop owners for showing those guys they're not welcome. Brave Clark. 2 armed robbers in ski masks burst into a store with no subtlety whatsoever. They start by threatening a customer and then charging at the employee. One robber gets to the other side of the counter to empty the register, while the other keeps his gun pointed. But the employee has had enough. He leaps forward to grab the gun, initially failing, but after a scuffle, he successfully disarms the robber. The once threatening crook suddenly changes his tune, begging the clerk to let him go. While they manage to escape, this clerk made it clear that not everyone's an easy target. They picked the wrong guy. Undercover Cop. Meet this guy who thinks he's about to meet someone trying to get some dope with a loaded purse. After making sure she's not a cop and that she's got the money, he flips the script and pulls a gun on her, demanding her purse. But maybe he should have been more skeptical about the whole not a cop thing. Because, surprise, she's a cop, and this was a sting operation. Just as he tries to bolt out of the car, it's game over. Enjoy your trip to jail, buddy. Forklifts. The occupants of a red car pull up next to a white van, hoping to drive off with it. But surprise, someone's already inside, so they decide to bail. However, the store's forklift operators are way too good for them. First, one forklift blocks their way. When the car makes a U-turn, another forklift blocks the other side. And here comes the finisher, another forklift, making it impossible for the car to go anywhere, trapping the thieves right at the scene of the crime. Brave kid. This crook, hiding his face with a surgical mask, thought he was about to pull off a jewelry heist in Turkey. But his grand plan gets derailed by someone much younger, a 12-year-old kid to be exact. As soon as the crook turns towards the boy, the kid springs into action, jumping on him and startling him so much that he flees. The guy came to rob a store and ended up forgetting his bag in the process. Smooth move. Main character. After filling up his basket with groceries, this not-so-nice customer decides he's going to skip the paying part. But just as he's about to stroll out, an off-duty cop walks in and casually takes the basket away from him, leaving the guy dumbfounded. The officer just walks off like it's no big deal, talking about the main character's energy. Clumsy. When your legs aren't what they used to be, stealing a crate of beer from a store and trying to run off isn't the best idea. This clumsy crook finds that out the hard way, face-planting into the ground and leaving empty-handed. Next time, maybe stick to something lighter or just pay for it. And that wraps up our journey through unexpected robbers and some crazy fails. Ever had an experience with an elderly rebel worth sharing? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon so you are notified each time we post a video just for you. Thank you for watching.